What's up, everybody? Sorry that I'm late with this video for the Real Housewives of Dallas season 3 episode 4, and this episode is titled God Save the Queen Bitch. So, this episode, it opens up where it ended not where it ended last week, it just opens up after everything that happened last week with Stephanie, Brandy, Carrie, and Cameron. Where Stephanie said, let's not bash Brandy about adopting a baby, where Cameron took that in her head and flipped it to make it sound like something else that Stephanie said. So, DeAndre's talking to LeAnn and telling LeAnn about everything that happened the night before with Brandy, Stephanie, Carrie, and Cameron. And, how she wants Stephanie to leave her house and all that kind of stuff. And then, Cameron and Carrie are downstairs, and Cameron is still upset about this and all that kind of stuff. She's talking about, she said, don't bash her baby and all that kind of stuff. And she didn't say don't bash her baby. What Stephanie said was, let's not bash Brandy for adopting a baby. I don't know how Cameron internalized that completely differently, but she did. And, Carrie doesn't agree with what Stephanie said, but she also feels like when it comes down to Cameron will take something and she'll harp on it forever and ever and ever and keep talking about it. Much like the situation last year when Brandy got Carrie and Stephanie those gifts, and she presented the gifts to them in front of Cameron. And Cameron, every time last year, she just had to bring that shit up. And I'm thinking about, just like last year, Brandy did not know Cameron that well to give her a gift. So I don't know how she got offended last year, and I'm still not sure how she got offended about this whole baby situation. It's not like you're her best friend or something like that. So I don't understand why and how she got so offended. Now then you go upstairs and you got Brandy and Stephanie upstairs, and they're talking. And Brandy is thanking Stephanie for standing up for her and all that kind of stuff. And Brandy's just saying how they need to talk to Cameron and tell Cameron basically how they felt. Which, I get it. Cameron completely overreacted to this whole thing from the jump. Even with her getting mad at Stephanie about not telling her the truth that Brandy was the one that adopted the baby and not the story that Stephanie told her. Like, it wasn't that deep, because eventually you guys were going to find out. She just wanted to keep it a secret a little bit longer so that when it came down to it, everybody was surprised. I don't get how Cameron is so in her brain that it's all about Cameron. Okay, so that's really confused me. And then upstairs where LeAnn and DeAndre are, DeAndre's saying how she just wants to talk to Brandy and see if she and Brandy are in a good spot. Because the last time that they saw each other was at that party that Stephanie had, and things didn't go too well with them. So she just wants to know if they're in a good spot. And then the day's events for the girls, they're going snowmobiling, and they get in the van. All the girls are there. And initially when they got in the van, it was a quiet ride because nobody was really talking to each other. But then Brandy kind of broke the ice, and she was talking to Cameron and telling Cameron how she felt. She's telling Cameron that, she felt attacked and all that kind of stuff, which I get, and I understand how she felt attacked because that was something that she did. And, for Cameron to flip it and make it all about herself, I definitely get how Brandy felt in that situation. And, she felt confused as well. And then Cameron, she's like, well, my feelings were hurt, and, she felt left out. How did you feel left out? Stephanie and Brandy are best friends, and then they're good friends with Carrie. So those were the only people who knew about Brandy adopting the baby. And even Carrie didn't know initially. So I don't get how she feels some type of way. But LeAnn and DeAndre feel no type of way. So I'm like, how do you feel some type of way? But those two don't feel anything at all. It's just you. You're making this all about yourself. Like, I don't get it. It's stupid. It's really stupid to get upset about someone that you're not close friends with adopting a baby. It makes no sense to me. How can you be that damn upset? So in the back seat is DeAndre, LeAnn, and Carrie. They're sitting back there, and they're listening to this whole conversation because also Cameron told Stephanie that she didn't have a problem with Stephanie. It was just Stephanie's choice of words. And Stephanie was like, I didn't say, you were bashing the baby. I said, let's not bash Brandy about adopting a baby. And then, Cameron is like, no, that's not what you said. You said, let's stop bashing her baby. That's why I got so upset. And I'm like, no, she did not say that. And then DeAndre and LeAnn, step in on Stephanie's behalf. And basically, they're saying, don't look at the words. look at the intent behind what she was saying. She didn't come at you in a malicious way. So I don't understand, again, why, you know, she came at her so harshly as she did. So now the girls finally make it to where they're going snowmobiling. They're getting their gear to go snowmobiling, and then they go outside and they get on the snowmobiles. So on the separate snowmobiles, you had Stephanie and Cameron on one, Brandi and Stephanie on one, and then DeAndre and LeAnn on one. And we find out that Stephanie is not a good driver because Stephanie was actually driving she and Brandy around. Stephanie has had plenty of accidents, and she's been dropped from her personal insurance company. So now she's on the company's insurance policy. I'm like, oh, God dang. You that bad of a driver? So after they get to the top of the mountain, you know, they get off, they take their gear off. And then, you know, DeAndre goes up to Brandy, and she's asking Brandy if they're good. And then, you know, Brandy was just talking about how, you know, she didn't like the fact that DeAndre was gossiping to the magazines about her. So, you know, they sit there and they starting to talk and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, DeAndre is basically telling her once again that article was not really about her, about Brandy per se. It was about DeAndre, because DeAndre also has ADHD and all that kind of stuff. So she feels like people abuse the drug Adderall and all that kind of stuff. So they both apologize, and they both decide that they want to move on. So then they get back on the snowmobiles. They go back down and they go have lunch. And, you know, they LeAnn asked this question, you know, if they were all, could they eat a friend if they were in the snow with no food? I don't know if I could ever be a cannibal, but, you know, you never know what kind of situation you're going to be in, so never say never. And then 2 hours later, after that lunch they had, you know, they're back at the house, and they are all having a good time. Looked like they were drunk as fuck. So, you know, it's nice to see them when they turn, you know, when they get drunk and all that kind of stuff. It's nice to see them have a good time and not be so at each other and all that kind of stuff. So it was nice to see that scene. Okay, so now we're on day 3. Day 3 is the day that Stephanie's leaving to go to Italy to be with her family. And upstairs, Stephanie is packing to go. And, you know, Brandy is telling Stephanie about what happened the night before between DeAndre and LeAnn, how they were arguing with each other over a stupid title of who was the queen of the group. And I'm like, are y'all arguing over a title that's non-existent, it's not real? But whatever. So they go downstairs, all the girls are there eating breakfast, and they ask what's today's events. So basically today's events is a free day. There is no itinerary. The girls can do whatever they want to do today. So you got LeAnn and Cameron, they're gonna get massages. Carrie's gonna go skiing, and then you got Brandi and Stephanie, not Brandi and Stephanie, you got Brandi and DeAndre, they're gonna go shopping with each other. So, like I said, they split up. Now, here's the thing that kind of bothered me a little bit with LeAnn. LeAnn was talking to, you know, Cameron about, you know, everything. Well, basically, it was about DeAndre and Brandi, with them being out. LeAnn is kind of worried about what's going on between those two. And I get LeAnn's point. You know, she's had some bad issues with Brandi in the past, but I don't think that DeAndre can be swayed, because they've been friends for years. So I don't think she can be swayed away from being LeAnn's friend. So I really didn't like her sitting there saying that she was worried about what was going on between those two, because DeAndre does not seem like the type that, like I said, you guys have been friends for years. I don't think she's the type that's going to be swayed by one person's opinion of what they think about you. So I didn't really like that 100%. And that's just me, personally, how I felt. And, you know, you got Cameron. She's talking about, Cameron, you got to get used to the fact that Brandi and Stephanie are going to talk about poop and, you know, sexual chocolate and all that kind of stuff. It's they just want to have fun. They're not being serious. Just lighten up a little bit completely. Like, that's all you got to do. And then the last requirement of the day, free-for-all day, was, like I said, they got to do whatever they wanted to do, but the last requirement was they all had to meet up for dinner. So the girls all do meet up for dinner, and when they're sitting down, Brandy brings up the whole thing about LeAnn and DeAndre arguing about the queen comment, and she tells them that they're going to have a pageant. So, you know, they do the pageant. They have questions prepared for the girls. So Brandy is asking the questions of the girls. So first she asks LeAnn, you know, what does her hands do? Because remember last season, LeAnn says they're just hands. So, you know, she asked her what do they do. And LeAnn is like, they can pray. They also lift each other up. I'm like, LeAnn, that is complete bullshit, but okay. And then, you know, Carrie also said, well, they strangle people too. And then, you know, then the next question is for DeAndre. They asked DeAndre, you know, if someone was, if there was a foul smell in the air, would you call someone out for farting, basically? And she says no. And then at the end, they get to ask a question of each other. So DeAndre goes first. And DeAndre asks the question of LeAnn, does LeAnn believe that she and Jeremy are happily married? Which LeAnn says yes. And then DeAndre asks her, well, why don't you feel that you and Rich could be happily married? And then, you know, LeAnn says that Rich is not in a happy space right now. So she's basically just, you know, being patient with him at this point. And whenever he's ready to, you know, set a wedding date, they'll set it. And then, you know, Cameron says that they need to take the time and, you know, figure out the right time for them to get married. And DeAndre says, well, they've been together for 9 years, which I get it. They've been together for 9 years. There's a lot of couples that, you know, they're together for years, and then when they get engaged, they don't immediately get married. I don't think anything is wrong with that. But the fact that Rich has been divorced 3 times, that does raise a red flag and make you think maybe Rich did just give LeAnn this ring just to shut LeAnn up. It is a possibility. But, you know, and then LeAnn, when they're talking and all this kind of stuff, LeAnn takes the blame and says that it's all on her. And, you know, she's talking about how she's scared about getting married to Rich because she doesn't want to get divorced. And basically the reason why she doesn't want to get divorced is because, like I said, Rich has been divorced now 3 times. So she's really fearful that if they get together, she will do something that'll ruin their relationship and he'll divorce her. Which, I mean, I get what LeAnn is saying. Number one, now here's what I'm gonna say. They've been together for 9 years. If Rich didn't want to be with her throughout this whole 9-year period, he would have left her. But that's not to say that once they do get married, that, you know, he might not say, hey, I've been living with this for 9 years, and now I don't really like it now that we've gotten married. It's not saying that won't happen. So I definitely get where she's coming from. And then, you know, Carrie tells her story about how she was married fresh out of college, and that her husband cheated on her, and how she really didn't want to get a divorce from her husband, but her divorcing him led her to Mark, who is her soulmate. And, you know, DeAndre telling her story about how when she, because DeAndre was in a marriage before that didn't work out, and when her and Jeremy got engaged and all that kind of stuff, she was afraid to even marry Jeremy because she didn't want to go through the same thing that she went through before. But she said that LeAnn talked her down, and, you know, basically convinced her to marry Jeremy. And I really did feel bad for LeAnn because, and like I said, I like all the girls minus Cameron. And I just really at this point felt like DeAndre was ganging up on LeAnn. I really did. That's how I felt. I don't know how anybody else felt, but that's just how I felt about it. I felt like she was ganging up on her. It was really sad to see that. Like, I get that that's your best friend. I get it. And you want what's best for your best friend. I get that. But if she's saying that, you know, Rich is either afraid or it's her, just, you know, let her be like, you know what? I love you. You're my best friend. If you ever want to tell me what's really going on, because I think that there's more to the story, you can tell me. But the way that DeAndre was just badgering, I didn't like. And lastly, we have the last day of the trip. The girls are all heading back to Dallas, with the exception of Carrie. Carrie is going on spring break with Mark and Zuri. So since they didn't really finish the pageant the night before because of DeAndre and LeAnn's situation, they decided to do a talent portion today. And, you know, the talent portion, it was a really weird talent portion because DeAndre did a butt clenching thing, which was really weird. And then LeAnn did this horribly bad rap. But DeAndre was the winner, so now they're heading back to Dallas. And that was the Real Housewives of Dallas. Again, sorry that this video is late. Like I said on my Black Ink Crew video, if anybody we're not going to talk about that. The reason why the video was late was because earlier this week, my YouTube channel was not uploading any of my videos. So it started working on Wednesday night. So here we are. If anyone's watching this, like the video, leave your comments, and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys later. And also share my videos with your peoples. Let them know I'm here and I do reviews. Let them know. Bring people to my channel.